Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh Soundoff. He's Andrew Ortega. Back after a week off. I did not have the Rona, but I was a little bit sick, mostly bedridden for the better part of a week. But during that time, there was some news that happened. By the time we uploaded the podcast, a lot of our stuff was actually pretty fucking dated, which kind of sucks. But regardless, we have NFL news today, which we never talk about. A little bit of NHL news. A little bit of NBA with The Last Dance, but before all that, we're starting off with UFC 249. Last week, 2 weeks ago, talking about UFC 249. It was scheduled for April 18th at the Tachi Palace in California. At least it was, until the governor of California put in a call up to the bigwigs up at Disney and ESPN and pretty much demanded that they shut the event down. As a result, ESPN and Disney called Dana White, told him to stand down. And that's what happened. And everything for this month, which was, after that April 18th card, everything's going to get rolling again, according to Dana White. That was postponed indefinitely until May 9th. Because apparently the UFC just does not give a flying fuck. They went ahead and they're scheduling a card for May 9th. It's supposed to be this big mega card that was originally going to have 3 title fights. It's moved to Florida. Why is this happening in Florida, you might ask? Well, 1, Florida does not give a fuck. 2, Florida actually officially said that they'll allow sporting events without a crowd, which opened the door for the WWE, which has been running shows in Florida this entire time, by the way. And then the UFC, it's opened the door for them to, I believe, have a show in Jacksonville. I don't know the venue yet, but, we're going to find that out soon enough, I'm sure. But it has been officially moved to Florida. What is going to be on the supercard, you might ask? Originally, it was going to be Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson for the interim lightweight title. Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz for the bantamweight title. Felicia Spencer for the featherweight title. And Ngannou versus Rosenstrike all were officially confirmed for the card, as well as a slew of other fights. However, Nunes versus Spencer was officially postponed until June because Amanda Nunes said she can't really train in conditions like this and she wants to have a little bit more time to get in better shape and fighting shape. Angel, we've had all the news. How has this last probably week and a half been? Because obviously we have the card canceled on April 18th, and then to be back, not even, this card's going to be 2 weeks from now, to just be back in the grind once again. Like, what has been your emotions in this whole thing?
Hopefully everything works out. Hopefully we finally get some MMA. I mean, we've been begging for it for a while now, and maybe the MMA gods have finally listened to us, and we'll be blessed with some good MMA and an amazing UFC exciting card on television, live, with no audience.
Yeah, no audience in Florida. They had one MMA card. It was some regional card. Like, I don't know the promotion's name. I apologize for the promotion. But they actually ran a card not that long ago, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago in Florida. So, here's the important thing, and why I think this is going to happen, and I didn't mention this, but it was in one of the things I was supposed to mention in the header. Dana White is on the U.S. Economic Task Team. What does that mean? Dana White is one of the people that the president has picked to kind of be a part of this economic team for, I guess, he's a part of the economic recovery team, like a team of advisors or whatever. So they literally have federal government support. And with the federal government, really, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Because here's the thing, they pretty much overpower the states. Like, they can tell, states have their own government, and that's part of the reason why California stepped in and was like, yo, dog, stop this shit. But honestly, if they have the federal government support and Florida doesn't give a flying fuck about anything, I think this card's gonna happen, man. I see a lot of people that are skeptical on Twitter and on Instagram and really on every social media site. But I really think with the government support on this one, I think it's gonna happen. Florida also is just, they don't care, man. Florida, they open their beaches, bro. They don't care. It's disappointing. It's terrible.
They don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck, man. They really don't give a fuck. The only other state I have seen that has not given a fuck like this is Probably Georgia. Georgia's officially opening everything in 4 days. Everything. Florida still has sanctions except for, like, the beach and sporting events, which is really strange, but regardless, they do. Angel, of the 3 fights that are officially confirmed, obviously, Gaethje Ferguson, Cejudo Cruz, and Gunnar Rosenstrike, which of those 3 do you think stands out kind of above the rest? Like, I know there's probably some other confirmed fights that, like, I don't know of, but of those 3, which one stands out the most?
Oh boy. Put me on the spot here. Oh man. I mean, they all stand out. I mean, they all have their own unique, to a certain, probably the lesser heavy story is probably Rosenstrike and Ngannou, but even then there's story there to be told because it's like, this is, one of these 2 guys could be the future heavyweight champion just regarding, because they would have to fight next, they could win, in theory or whatever, however everything's going to happen at heavyweight, right? And then you have, obviously, Gaethje and Ferguson, those guys, I mean, there's story there, there's so much there, Gaethje kind of like, not to put it like this, but people feel like he's like the forgotten child of that weight class, like he hasn't been given his opportunity, truthfully. And then obviously Ferguson, been trying to get that title, officially no Ayrton title, like finally get that actual, real title. And then, obviously, now we got another return in Dominic Cruz, and then the character in Henry Cejudo, the king himself, presenting himself to the world. I mean, there's a lot here to like. There's something there for everybody.
Yeah, you did a good job at kind of running down all the fights that are actually happening. You give me a cop-out answer, but I'll let it slide. As for, like, the fight that I'm personally most excited about, listen, bro, I gotta go with Dominic Cruz's return, because we were talking about this before we went live or whatever. This, like, Dominic Cruz, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated fighter of all time. And I understand that there's a lot of people that are saying he doesn't deserve his title shot. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve that. Listen, man, Dominic Cruz, the last time he lost before he lost his title to Cody Garbrandt was 2007. He was 22 years old, and he lost to Uriah Faber. After that, he went on how many wins is that in a row? 12 fight winning streak. He beat Ian McCall. He beat Joseph Benavidez twice. He dominated Demetrius Johnson. He beat TJ Dillashaw. He beat Uriah Faber twice. Dominic Cruz has been a bad motherfucker, man. And, like, there was talk of him having an immediate rematch versus Garbrandt the first time around. People forget this, but I don't blame them. It's 4 years ago at this point, which is really insane to think about. I remember watching that card at SoPro Gaming. Shout out SoPro, rest in peace. I remember watching that card at SoPro years ago, almost 4 years ago at this point. And I remember watching that fight thinking, like, holy shit, this fight's amazing. Garbrandt and Cruz, obviously. And I was just shocked whenever he lost, but that fight was awesome. I remember immediately afterwards there was talk of a rematch. Because obviously, Cruz hadn't lost in fucking, over a decade or something, 12 fight winning streak, defended the title something like 5 times, 6 times. Like, he was a dominant champion. So I don't have a problem with him getting this title shot. I don't have a problem with him returning. And, I mean, with everything that's going on, I don't even think Peter Yan can make the trip from Russia to the United States. I believe he's in Russia. Don't quote me on that. Pretty sure he trains there, though. And Aljamain Sterling, he doesn't want to fight during this whole pandemic situation. I don't blame him. But he's the only other person who I could say that clearly deserves a title shot. Maybe Corey Sandhagen, but I don't know what his deal is. I had no problem with Dominic Cruz returning, getting a title shot. I fucking love this fight. I think Cejudo is making his way as one of the greatest fighters of all time, and Cruz is probably the bantamweight go. Like, it's an awesome fight. You're gonna have to deal with Cejudo's striking and his kind of karate style stance with the insane movement and wrestling, counter wrestling as well. Like, Cejudo could try and wrestle, but Dominic Cruz is a bad motherfucker on the mats. So it's gonna be an awesome fight. And I also think the fact that we're giving Cruz only a couple weeks to prepare after years of a layoff pretty much means that, like, it's giving him less time to hurt himself, so I think that's pretty good. Like, I love Dominic Cruz, but the man's, he's injured all the time. Like, I didn't think he'd come back, but if he's really gonna come back and fight on May 9th, then that's dope shit. I might buy this card. Like, I'm really excited for it. If it does happen, which I think it will, man. I feel good about this card happening.
I hope so, man. I hope so. That's what we need right now.
Yeah, I mean, and based off what they're saying of how they're gonna have protections in place, from what I understand, a lot of people ask UFC about testing. To my knowledge, they're gonna send out testing kits to all the fighters before fight week, and then whenever it comes to fight week, they're gonna have tested again, and then tested the night of the fight. So that seems like a relatively foolproof plan, especially with how testing is getting significantly better. Like before, it was like you send in a test and you have to wait like a day or 3 or whatever the fuck. Now it's like they have 5-minute tests, and they're working on that. So by the time May 9th rolls around, I think this card's gonna happen. I really do. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I'm trying to keep my emotions in check, obviously. And the card's already taken hits. Spencer versus Nunes was already taken off, it was originally announced, and Dana White says a lot of stuff, mostly for trying to pressure fighters to fight. Sometimes that happens. Like, he'll announce them for the card, and then those fighters are like, wait a minute, I didn't agree for this. So that's pretty much what happened now. Nunes Spencer, I think that's an awesome fight, and I think that one could be put on UFC 250. UFC 250 though, that's gonna be next. So in June. So I assume that's gonna be put on there. Yeah, that's about all I got for this one, guys.
Still waiting on Fight Island.
Fight Island's gonna happen, but we don't know when. Actually, I don't know if Fight Island's gonna happen anymore. I actually don't.
I hope so. Like Dana said he's working on. They said it was they're setting up the infrastructure. So I'm waiting for it.
That was also weeks ago, and weeks ago, UFC 249 was supposed to already happen. So
hey, Rome wasn't built in a day, Josh.
And Fight Island can't be either. So
exactly.
You got me there. But yeah, I'm excited. Anyways, to move on from the UFC news. The NBA, we don't have any real news, which kind of sucks, because normally I like to get on here and give some sort of news. There's been mums the word from the NBA about when they're going to return. We'll get into when they might return later on in a bit, but The Last Dance officially premiered, the first 2 episodes. I know Angel hasn't seen it, but listen, I'll put it like this. It was originally hyped. It was hyped as probably the greatest sports documentary series probably of all time. It's been hyped as that. This footage they've been sitting on for a long time. It's been hyped to death. And through 2 episodes, I've got to say, it's meeting all of my expectations and more. I saw that an insane amount of people, I can look up the official number right now, but overall, just an insane amount of people watched The Last Dance on its first night, because they show the first 2 episodes on one night, and it averaged 6.1 million viewers, which in this day and age, whenever nobody watches shit, that's really insane. But yeah, man, it's so good. Angel, you need to see it. It's all worth the hype.
It's Jordan, baby. We're talking about one of the most internationally recognized athletes on the whole, maybe in the whole universe. We know that Space Jam, baby. So, intergalactic superstar, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Come on.
I think part of the thing that makes it fit so well is just, listen, I'm gonna watch a LeBron documentary whenever he retires. I'd watch a LeBron documentary right now. I'd watch a Shaq documentary. I'd watch a documentary about most players. But I think only Michael Jordan, based off his career and the retirements and the baseball and his crazy teammates, Rodman, Pippen, all the championships, all the series, I think you can make a 10 episode series about.
Don't worry, LeBron will have a 20-parter. Him in Miami, him in LA, and him on the other team. His son's gonna join, and Cleveland.
I think you do a legitimate 10-part series on just the decision. Just I was actually, you know what was funny? I was watching.
Wasn't that basically a 50 for 50 though when that came out way back when? It was really drawn out.
Most people thought he was going back to Cleveland because they thought, wait, there's no way he'd do this big TV special just to leave Cleveland. Because I'm pretty sure he was in Cleveland whenever he did it too. Although I feel bad because for all the shit he got, ESPN asked him to do it, And he's like, yeah, I'll do it as long as all the proceeds go to, like, a children's hospital or some shit. And in the end, everybody fucking hated LeBron for doing it. Like, I felt bad. And, like, I was like, God damn, guys, Jesus. But yeah, I was watching, funnily enough, I got a flashback to the decision. It goes, I'm watching How I Met Your Mother, never seen the show before. I'm binging my way through it during the whole quarantine. And they had a parody of the decision, and I decided to go back and watch the decision again, and it's so funny. Like, in hindsight, it's so funny. I can understand if you're pissed off as a Cleveland fan, but he came back and won a championship anyway, so whatever. But yeah, The Last Dance, it's an amazing documentary. You guys should watch it. I'm assuming most of the people that would listen to us have already listened to it anyway, like, watched or whatever. So, yeah. But if you haven't, just go out and watch it. I saw it's coming to Netflix in July, but I'm assuming you can watch it on Hulu and ESPN.
Really?
Yes.
Oh boy.
The full 10-part, whenever, like, it gets all done, it's going to come to Netflix in July.
That man almost went to the Knicks. You know something that's going to be in LeBron's 50 for 50. The fact that the man almost went to the Knicks.
He almost went to a lot of teams. I saw that, like, oh my god, what was it?
Well, before he made it to LA, we knew, what was it, the Sixers and LA were like the thing. And then I think maybe one other team. But, I mean, even before that, I'm sure there was plenty of stuff like the trade, like maybe some potential trade for the pick, right? Like maybe LeBron was getting moved to some other team for whatever godforsaken reason, right? Which probably would have been good for him because Cleveland sucked a lot during his time there. And then obviously, I'm guessing at some time in between, he wanted to leave as well. During the decision, after the decision, when he returned to Cleveland, he probably wanted to leave at some point because it's Braun. And then, obviously, we knew he wanted to leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, but I've seen, like, some of the pitches that have come out over the years of, like, just, like, because there's been obviously, like, he went to, like, a bunch of different meetings, or he sent representatives to meetings. And I've just, like, there's been a lot of the stories that have come out over the years about, like, pitches that they did for LeBron, and some of them are just ridiculous. Like, they're just insane. Like, it really was a giant thing at the time.
And still is. Who doesn't want LeBron James on their team?
Fair enough.
I mean, that's eyes. That's people.
But yeah, so if you guys haven't seen The Last Dance, just to kind of draw back to it, first episode is okay, not really first episode. First episode is what you expect. It jumps back and forth between the Last Dance and the last season where he won a ring. And then, obviously, it spends, the second episode, just a heads up, most of it's spent on Pippen. Like, almost all of it is spent on Pippen. And I understand why they're doing it. I'm assuming they're going to do the same for Rodman, because they fucking better. But they talk about, like, just how much he got shafted on his contract with the Bulls, and just how little he actually earned during those championship years, which I didn't even really know, actually.
Oh my god, Josh. Only $1 million isn't a lot of money.
That's true, but I think he signed a 7-year, $18 million deal.
Oh yeah, no, I saw the breakdown. I was like, wow,
that's insane.
And not to say $1 million isn't a lot, you know, but you know, he was a very core, important person in that team, and that's how he was valued.
Yeah, and I like, even, you know, Jordan pointed out, like, he didn't win without Pippen. Like,
you don't win alone. You don't win alone.
He was just as important to the team. So I thought that was a nice thing to see. But
that's good.
Yeah, second episode is almost all Pippen. But I guess to kind of move on to another topic, and it's kind of the NBA's return, but not really the NBA's return. The NHL is supposedly looking at a return in July. And we don't really talk about the NHL here because, I mean, I'm a casual NHL fan, and you don't know jack shit. So
this doesn't help.
Yeah, but based off what they're saying, and I feel like it's kind of we can kind of look at the NHL, what they're doing as a result of to see, like, look forward to what the NBA might do. What the NHL is looking at doing is having 4 arenas in 4 different cities where teams would play, and they would start in July, and they would complete the regular season. I don't know if that's what I'd like to see the NBA do, because what I'd like to see the NBA do is probably just hole up players and say hold them up. I think the general 4 arenas, 4 different cities, not a bad idea because you're minimizing travel, and these people should not be flying right now, and nobody really should be flying at all. So I think keeping them in a couple of different cities that are relatively close by, they probably get there via team bus or whatever, all probably in the same state or at least nearby or close enough or whatever. I think that's a pretty smart idea. And then fuck the regular season at this point. At least when it comes to the NBA, fuck the regular season. I'm sorry, man. Somebody's got to say it. The only team that really has a right to gripe about them not making the playoffs is probably the Blazers. But even then, the Blazers were hot ass for the majority of the season. So I can't even, and a lot of people are like, it's the injuries. I'm like, guys, come on. I really hate when people use injuries as a complaint. I understand that they were injured at times, but they were hot ass for the majority of it for the season. So even then, you kind of lose your argument there. And yeah, I say you just start off in the playoffs because there's not much the only real issue would be seeding, because even then the Blazers are 4 games out from the 8th spot. It would require a meltdown. With how many games are left in the season, I think it would require a meltdown by the Grizzlies for the Blazers to even get there. So, listen, man, just start in the playoffs. Do a couple cities that are close by. That's what I do. Angel, I'm assuming you're on board with my plan, because I know we talked about this off air, but is that kind of the move?
Set the playoff picture, bro. Don't even have to set it if you don't want. Just start the playoffs. Reduce the series amount. Simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it.
I'd say they should probably move it. I'm not sure how many games they would actually do. I'd say probably, I don't know, probably 3-game series would be fun.
And you know what they could do? They should just simulate the games remaining in the season in 2K, and then that's the playoff that you're setting. I think that's a fair reason. There was some NBA teams out there, not saying any names, that were simming their games in real life on 2K.
Yeah, I know the Suns were doing that.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't very smart. But,
Poor Suns.
They could probably do, we could do that and finish out the season like that. They had a 2K tournament. This is just great PR for them. Let's just finish it out like that.
You know what's kind of been amazing during this whole time? Just how poorly the NBA has, thrown shit together in order to stay relevant. The NHL sat the shit out. The UFC's been trying to have stuff happen, just looking at other sports leagues. Most of the other ones have just sat the shit out. They're just chilling. The NBA is furiously trying to have some sort of programming. They had the 2K.
They released The Last Dance, for God's sake. No, I was kidding.
They released it early.
Well, it wasn't even then. I'm guessing they had no part in that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's just, they had the 2K tournament, which I don't know anybody that actually watched or enjoyed. And then they had the horse tournament, which I was actually reasonably excited for, because I'm like, oh, you got a lot of cool players here. Probably, I'm assuming they'll have some decent camera crews. They could do this all. It'd be pretty fun, right? I like the matchups. You had some NBA legends. You had some NBA All-Stars. It was fucking terrible. And I wanted to come on here and rant about it. Listen, full credit to them for trying. I have never seen anything as terrible as the NBA's horse tournament. It was so fucking, I was sick as a dog watching this thing. I was bedridden during this time, and I was looking for any source of content to kind of lift my spirits. I went to bed. I decided I'd rather go to bed than watch it, dude. And by the way, it happened 6 o'clock. That just shows you how boring it was. It was so bad. And my man Chauncey Billups, full credit to him, he came back from HORS down to beat Trae Young. Amazing comeback. Good for him. Outside of that, it was terrible. You could see some of the players who were trying to make something fun out of it. Paul Pierce got straight up swept, which is funny to see. What else happened? Fucking Chris Paul was playing, I don't remember her name. She's a WNBA player. This girl's a goddamn sharpshooter, and Chris Paul was trying to stay in it. It was actually pretty competitive, and he was talking shit the whole time, so it was fun. But the camera work from every single player was just terrible. Like, it was the worst thing ever. They were filming on, like, 80s equipment, bro. Actually, you know what? Shit was more clear in the 80s. They're using early 2000s Nokia phones to record this shit. I swear to God. If you guys haven't seen it, you can look it up on YouTube. The quality's legitimately the worst shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I was stunned that that this happened and they decided to put it on ESPN without saying anything. Like, it was so bad.
You've seen that picture of LeBron with the flip phone recording? It's probably that.
That's literally it. I'm dead ass. It was so terrible. And I was excited for it. I was excited. I wanted content. I wanted some sort of basketball content.
You were genuinely you were not invested. You were genuinely interested, I should say.
I was genuinely invested. Like, I was excited, bro. I really fucking was. I wanted something. I wanted some sort of content, some sort of basketball. Cause, like, listen, the 2K tournament, whatever, that's fine, but 2K shit, I don't care. 2K is just a bad game. I've noticed I've been ranting about 2K like for the past 7 weeks, and it just comes up in conversation. But anytime I get to shit on 2K, it's fun. It's more fun shitting on 2K than playing 2K. But yeah, like it's so bad. It's so bad. So I can't really enjoy it. And then like also like the game's kind of laggy and the player cameras aren't very good, so there's like no real point in watching it. But then I was excited for this because I'm like, oh, you know what? I enjoy playing horse myself. You know, like I love playing horse. It was one of my favorite. Like, if you ever wanted to fuck someone up back in the day, you played horse against them. If you're talking basketball, it's true. You know, 1v1 isn't as fun to me. I'd rather play horse.
So I have to try on 1v1.
Yeah, exactly. In horse, I was ridiculous at horse, mostly just because I could hit insane shots, but then I miss a free throw. Like back in the day, Josh Wham Bam Evanoff, right? Because I'd hit 2 amazing shots all game and then nothing for the rest of the game.
The original white chocolate right here.
The original white chocolate, dead ass. I remember in gym class, like we'd be playing, and I'd hit like a 40-foot 3-pointer and then immediately miss a layup. It was almost uncanny how much because I used to play on my fucking basketball hoop and just like shoot ridiculous shots all day, and I never really practiced a close one, so I'd miss everything that was close to the basket. That's a story for another day, but regardless. That's a story for another day. Regardless, the horse tournament was terrible. It was really, really bad. I don't even know who was in the finals or whatever. I never even saw them post about it, like NBA on ESPN or whatever, because it was that bad. And I saw them hyping it at first.
They want to forget about it.
I don't blame them. It was so bad.
I heard the one good thing that came from it was Beverly talking shit.
You know, I'd say the best part of it was Chauncey Billups. I gotta give credit to my man Chauncey.
I'm talking about the 2K tournament. I was really talking about like that.
Pat Bev? Oh yeah, he was talking shit. That was fun. Yeah,
no, it did not. When I heard horse tournament, I thought there would be like at some private gym or at someone's house. I know remember the private social distancing, but I thought they were going to be like, at the local rec center or something that they were able to get closed down just for them to have a whole little camera crew, make it a whole little thing, Yeah. It was not the case. They were at their houses, chilling, or they were somewhere with, a low quality camera, trying to show how they're shooting their shots and playing horse. It was not the greatest.
Here's the worst part about it, is like you had some player. See, I was under the impression that they were probably going to go to a gym that was nearby them, get permission to film, and have, I'm not sure an actual camera crew, but a decent quality camera and decent quality equipment, right? I was under that impression.
Agreed.
No, they just had, they were sitting out of their front fucking yard with, by the way, Trae Young was shooting on like my hoop, bro. Like it was bad. And like the girl who's playing against Chris Paul, same thing. And then you had Mike Conley, who had his own home gym that was like an actual basketball court. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, he was one of the few that actually had good quality and a good gym. So I was like, shout out him. But like, some of them were just ridiculous. Paul Pierce was playing on like his home court. and like it would look pretty cool.
Just, Paul Spears just at his home court,
Paul Pierce status home. By the way, he got swept and it was just terrible. But he was probably the biggest loser of that whole thing, man. Like his quality was ass. He was playing on like his home court that like at first I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool home court because like it was like customized and everything until it occurred to me that like it was right next to his backyard and like it was right like on like grass and shit, like not actually on grass, but you understand the point I'm making here. Like it was right next to like his lawn shit and the camera kind of pan over like his back porch or whatever. And I'm like, you know what, man, you probably should have just got your own like inside gym if I were you, but
fuck it.
Yeah, it was bad. It was pretty bad, and I ended up ranting about this like 10 minutes, but it was really fucking bad.
Just like I could have done better.
I legitimately could. I could have filmed better because it wasn't live either. So they could have filmed it better. That's the part that irritates me. It wasn't live.
I don't even know these people, bro.
Yeah, so I think this wasn't even on our topic list to rant about the horse tournament, but I did.
Here we go. Content is key.
Anyway, so to kind of move on to our next topic, and really kind of our last topic, the craziest shit is happening in the NFL right now. Right now, the NFL, normally NFL free agency pales in comparison to NBA free agency and the draft and all that stuff. And generally speaking, it's always more fun in basketball. I'd argue this NFL free agency season is arguably the most entertaining free agency season I've seen for a sport since. You know what? Actually, I can't even say anything because honestly, it's still not as fun as NBA free agency. But this is one of the better NFL free agencies in a long time because I was really about to compare it to like another season, and then it occurred to me that like last NBA free agency, everybody moved, so like it doesn't even fucking matter. But in the NFL, shit like people moving all the time, it doesn't happen as much. Players tend to stay with a few teams for their entire career, or one, or something like that. That's just generally how it works. Like in the NBA, players are moving all the time. Superstars. LeBron is on his third team, fourth if you count the fact that he played on the Cavs twice, two different iterations of the Cavs. But yeah, it's just in the NFL, people don't really move that much. This offseason has been ridiculous for NFL free agency because obviously the big news is Tom Brady moving because everybody, Tom Brady. He's played for the Patriots for longer than I've been alive. Tom Brady has been playing for the New England Patriots. They were the greatest dynasty. Because here's the thing, they weren't even just a dynasty. They were a dynasty twice. Like people talk about them as if they're one dynasty. They won 3 titles in the early 2000s, stopped winning. They struggled for I say they struggled. They were still one of the top teams for a while, but Brady dealt with injuries. They were losing the Super Bowl. They couldn't make it to the Super Bowl for almost a decade. I think the last time they won a title was 2005, and they didn't make it back to the Super Bowl and win one for 2014. And they were a dynasty again. They were a dynasty twice. They had 2 fucking dynasties. That's ridiculous. And then obviously last year the Patriots were pretty fucking bad. They had the greatest defense in the league, but their offense was just so trash, mostly due to the retirement of Rob Gronkowski. And so the Patriots, they really faltered. They started off like 7-0. I think they ended up finishing like 11-5. They got bounced in the first round against the Titans team that was just, they barely made the playoffs. I think they went 9-7. But yeah, like they barely like made the playoffs to begin with. They got bounced in the first round. So the Patriots, they were in a weird transition time. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, you know what? They got Tom next year. But no, Tom Brady signed to the fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of nowhere. Because the Bucs weren't even that great last season. I think they went 7-9. But they still had a lot of talent on that team. Everybody kind of was like, you know what? If the Bucs had a better QB that didn't throw 30 interceptions, they would have made the playoffs. That's not a joke. Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions last year. That's not a joke. That's not hyperbole. He threw 30 interceptions. I'm going to keep on saying it because it's fucking ridiculous. because Brett Favre would be impressed with how much gunslinging he was doing. He had 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 5,000 yards. Regardless, if they had a quarterback who didn't turn over the ball that much, they probably would have made the playoffs. So they signed Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. If he's not the greatest quarterback of all time, he's the most accomplished. 3 MVPs, 6 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, 14 Pro Bowls. Like, it's just ridiculous. And so then shit dies down. All the other stuff in the league, it's happened. All the other kind of, moves have been done. It's almost draft time. And then not even yesterday, I think it was 2 days ago at this point, the news comes out. Rob Gronkowski, professional wrestler for the WWE, gets traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's not even a joke. He's currently champion of the WWE. It was a big deal that he got signed. And he got traded to the Bucs. Rob Gronkowski coming out of retirement. He retired in his prime. He was considered probably the greatest tight end to ever play the game. And it's well deserved because if you look at his accomplishments, he's the most unstoppable player I've seen. You literally couldn't stop him. So him retiring after 2018, he was pretty beat up. And for all intents and purposes, this was his Jordan year. Like he retired, he got his mind in shape, he got his body in shape, he stopped taking the hits, and then boom, he's back. He's with the Bucs. I don't have any other parallel for this. Like, I don't have any other kind of, like, a lot of people are like, what's the NBA parallel for this, or whatever the fuck. I don't have one, man. I really don't have anything, because it's not even just Gronk coming out of retirement. It's him going to play with his former teammate, who arguably one of the top 5 connections, like quarterback, receiver connections. Like, I understand he's a tight end, but still, like, connections in NFL history. So it's fucking insane, man. Like, it's absolutely insane. Andrew, I know you don't have a whole lot to add to this, but
it sounds like a cool thing, I'll tell you that. All I know is big news and Twitter was blowing up, so I know we had to talk about it, and we need content, and content is key, like I said earlier. So I'm happy you got to talk a little bit about football, because we don't get to talk too much about that. So that was interesting to hear, because it's good to be up to date and informed. And maybe someone out there doesn't watch football; they just come here to listen to some MMA news or boxing news. So there you go. There's a little bit of factoids for the day.
Yeah, just some factoids. As for like whether or not they're going to be one of the top teams, a lot of people are saying like it's Super Bowl would bust for them, and I completely agree. If they don't win the Super Bowl, it's all a bust. But like, listen, I'd say they're probably the second best offense in the league right now. If they're not number 2, they're number 3. I think number 1 is the clear Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I understand I'm biased and all, but I mean, come the
back
fuck
to back, baby.
Back to back. The Chiefs retained 21 of 22 starters. That's fucking insane. They have Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, the speed on that team, McCole Hardman, obviously the greatest quarterback in the league, the greatest tight end in the league. And yes, I said greatest tight end in the league, even with Gronk back, I don't care. By the time Gronk retired, Travis Kelce was already the best tight end in the league, because Gronk he's beat to shit the last year he played, so, but then the Bucs, man, like just that offense, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Tom Brady, Ronald Jones, who is actually a pretty good running back that nobody talks about. And then they have 3 good tight ends. That's insane to me. They have O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, and now Rob Gronkowski. They can run 3 tight end sets. That's insane to me. Like they have 3 really, really good tight ends. And then the defense side of the ball, it's not even that bad either. Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaquille Barrett. Like, they have some good fucking people on that defensive side of the ball, and the defense isn't nearly as bad as it looked last year. Their D-line in particular is really, really good, but it's really, really hard whenever your quarterback's turning over the ball 2 times a game for the defense to be that great. So I think the Bucs are going to be one of the top teams in the league, and they're going to be going up against the Saints. Like, that division is going to be insane, because you've got New Orleans with Drew Brees, in my opinion, who I think might be the greatest quarterback of all time. We were talking about Brady. Brees basically has more of the accomplishments, and he has more of the stats, like accomplishments, I mean like career-wise. Like he has all like the records for most touchdown passes, most this, that, or whatever the fuck. And they were one of the better teams in the league last year. And Breeze is coming back for the final dance, the last dance. He'll be 42. And then you got Carolina with Teddy Bridgewater and Christian McCaffrey. And then Atlanta with Matt Ryan and them boys, and Todd Gurley just got signed. So the NFC South is going to be insane. But yeah, man, it's going to be fun. If I were to, and obviously the NFL draft is today. The NFL draft is literally today. It's going to be all virtual. And so that means Roger Goodell is not going to be booed for the first time ever. So they got a lot of stuff going on in the NFL. So it's a fun time to be an NFL fan, because I'm pretty sure all the shit's gonna be figured out by the time the league starts in September. Crossing my fingers, God willing, the NFL will start in September and everything will be relatively normal. So yeah, man, it's fun, and I think that's all I got for this week. I don't know, Angel, you got anything for this week? Anything more?
Nothing. Nice. That's it. It continues. Hopefully next week we talk more MMA. Hopefully there's more news. Something happens somewhere in the world. No news is good news for MMA as far as I'm concerned. If they announce Fight Island has been made, that'd be nice.
That's true. I wasn't really counting Fight Island, but that you're right. As long as Fight Island gets announced, everything will be good.
Here, Fight Island's being announced, and yeah, and it's gonna. Oh man, they should pride that shit. They should just pride style Fight Island. I mean, it's. I don't even care.
Yeah, as long as I said no news is good news for MMA, that would be the only good news we could possibly get outside of more fights being made.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyways, guys, that's all we got for this week. Thanks for all the support that we've gotten. All of the people that still listen, despite the fact that we're in a very rough time and there's no real sports going on. We appreciate you guys as always. Courtside Soundoff on Spotify, YouTube. I did the clips this week. Might do some more this week. Depends on if I got the time. I believe I should, considering we're in the middle of a pandemic and I'm not working. Anyways, so yeah, Courtside Soundoff on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, anywhere you can get a podcast, you can probably find us. Courtside Soundoff on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't really use Facebook. For the Instagram, I use a little bit, and the Twitter is the most used social media stuff for us. For us individually, at Josh Shevanoff, on Twitter. I don't really use anything else. And he's at Angel_01 on Twitter. Thank you guys for listening as always. It's always fun talking to you guys and, talking to, what you guys understand what I'm saying here. I'm running out of shit to say. I'm trying to stretch this out as long as I possibly can, but whatever. That's all I got. Peace and bud grease. Mouse click.